Hello, everyone, and welcome to Radio Toni. What a fabulous show we've got planned today. But before I get on with that, just a big shout out to all my wonderful listeners, particularly those of you who've had a tough week. I just wanted to let you know you're not alone, and all you've got to do is take one moment at a time. It always passes. Don't forget to pop onto all my social media and hear who's guesting on the show each week. I'll pop the links into the chat box, or you can jump onto my website, https://tonylontis.com. Another big shout out to my radio technician Rebel, who keeps me on time each week, organises all the technical bits and makes sure all my guests appear when they're supposed to, even when she can barely speak. A word from our sponsors of Radio Toni. We have the wonderful Kerry Hort Rowe, the brain behind Brainthinking. She's a business motivator who believes that there's nothing better than a fresh set of eyes on your business to see how it's working. She's also a HBDI profiler and speaker. And again, we'll be talking to her later today to update you on how I went with my brain questionnaire, the wonderful tool that Kerry spoke about last week. Our second sponsor is Tracy Tully, who is a speaker, mentor, author in mastering fear, building courage and unlocking resilience by unlocking the power of your voice. She also works with groups of people to give them confidence and courage to speak in public places or have hard conversations. And before I get to the break, a word about our first guest this morning. Stanley from Zen Culture is an esoteric, metaphysical, metacomic, spiritual entrepreneur from Sydney, Australia, who believes you should be a sincere seeker and know yourself. He is self-taught and has amazing wisdom from the best of the fields in wealth, health and balance. Balance being a metaphysical, science, religion, philosophy, astrology, astronomy and numerology. He's currently teaching his graduates how to approach a total holistic philosophy of life, being, and to be healthy, wealthy and balanced. So after the break, I'll be introducing you to the wonderful Stanley. And Harper has a question first thing off the bat this morning. You went through the process already? Yes. Kerry sent me the brain thinking tool after the show, and I've been through it, and I will talk about it and how simple it is later on in the show. I don't know the results yet. Kerry's banned me from looking at them. And yes, James, I am so looking forward to having Stanley on the show to talk about numerology and astrology. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderfully engaging session. I've got lots of questions to answer him, and I'm sure you guys listening will have many questions as well. I'm not sure if you realise how old numerology and astrology are, and they have been around for thousands and thousands of years, this knowledge. So it'll be interesting to talk to Stanley today. And our other guests today include Yogita, who we talked to last week about her upcoming retreat. We'll have a quick word to Yogita again live on the show later in the show, and we're going to pop on to a short break before hopefully we have Stanley live on the show. So over to you, Rebel. Welcome back, everyone, to Radio Toni, and we have Stanley live on the air. Good morning, Stanley.
Good morning, Toni. How you doing?
I'm really good. Now, would you like me to call you Stan, or do you prefer Stanley?
Whichever, it doesn't mind. Stanley's fine. I'm leaving that
Stanley's
numerologically.
Yeah. Numerologically. We've already had questions from our listeners about this already. So, Stanley, I'd like to start. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this line of spiritual teaching?
Yes, I've always been a self-taught seeker, and I began seeking in the year 2000 in many facets, whether it be wealth, health, and then I went more further deep into the esoteric realm and the studying of metaphysics. And I learned from my own Swami guru, who taught me some metaphysical ancient Vedic principles, and I took it to another level. And then come the end of December 2011, I created the ESP code numerology, which stands for essence, soul, and purpose.
Oh, fantastic. So you've been doing this quite a while. So for our listeners, can you give us a simple explanation of what is numerology?
Yes, I'll break it down. I like using acronyms of three. So,
yes.
Astrology.
Is there a reason for the three?
There is.
Yes.
It seems to resonate very well with me, and I'm also, because I'm a master number 33. I'm a 3 with as a master teacher, but I'm also a master student. So I have childlike hunger for thirst for wisdom, and so the numerology, I like to do the acronym. It sits under the umbrella of astrology. So you can think of astrology being the science of God, mathematics being the language of God, and numerology being the code of God. And what I've done with the numerology is I've taken it to a cosmic level, and hence the creation of the ESP code.
What a wonderful, simple explanation. That's really great.
Thank you.
So let's delve a little bit more into what numerology actually is. So our listeners can, some of them may not have heard of what numerology is and how it works. And I want them to have an understanding before we go on and talk about ESP.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. So numerology, in its simplistic term, there's many different methods and methodologies. It's like, all methods lead to the same path, the same source, but it's just different road. And numerology is based on a person's date of birth in its simplistic form, just the day, month, and year, without really factoring in the time of birth, which is more deeper with the astrological side of things. Yes. So numerology shows people's identities, characteristics, attributes based on the numbers in their date of birth, which are a derivative of the celestial planets.
I see. So if I were to put my birthday to you, could you give or your own birthday, whichever you prefer, give our listeners an idea of what that comes down to?
Yeah, I'll be happy to do your birthday because I don't know it, so we can do it live on air now.
Yeah, yep. So you need the day, the month. Do you need the year as well?
I do.
Okay, so it's 28 04 1967. There you go, listeners. Now you know how old I am.
So in relation to your day and month, that's the sun and moon. So the 28 plus 4 equals 32. If you narrow that down to a single digit, 3 plus 2 is 5. So your first number, your identity numbers are 5. So that's telling me that you're a quick thinker. You like to travel. You're very intellectual. And your years are the rest of the planets leading to your characteristics and essence, soul, purpose. If we add the 1967 together, you add that as 10 plus 6 is 16, plus 7 is 23. So 27, 7, 4 is 25. So 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 6 is 16, plus 7 is 23. So that's 5. So you have 2 5. So your identity is a 5.
Oh.
Your type of identity is a 5. So that's telling me you're actually a very quick thinker. You can multitask and deepen the intellectual side of things. Now, your life path number, we add those two numbers together again. So your identity is a 5. Your type of identity is a 5. So if you add that, that's a 10. We always narrow down to a single digit. So your life path number is a 1. So that's telling me you're very independent, creative, and you like your solitude, your alone time. Yes. So then we take it to another digit. So we add those 3 again. So we go 5 plus 5 plus 1 equals 11. We narrow that down to a single digit, that 1 plus 1 equals 2. So your essence soul purpose number is a 2. So that's telling me you're very kind, you have a very good heart, but you may not show it on your sleeve initially to people. And so your ESP code, hence, is 5512. We all have a 4-numbered sequence code. And so with that, you can do so many things, Toni. It's pretty much limitless.
Really?
You can profile with other people. You can profile with the country, and you can profile with the day that you're running today, even the month, even the hour, even with the minute, because everything is just biorhythms, just cycles.
Wow. That's fascinating. Look, I've got so many questions coming in. Before we get on to talking deeper about ESP, because I'm excited to get into that, I'm going to pop some questions. So Tim wants to know, how long does it take to learn this? I'm guessing it's a lifelong journey.
I'm doing online courses, half-day workshops online for people to learn, so it'll be collaborated and everyone can ask questions and mastermind. But it is with me, I'm channeling all the time 24/7, so
I see.
So many different variants of the code. But from a half-day workshop, the majority of the people will get the gist of what they need to do. And then what I'm going to have is a Facebook instant message group where people will collaborate, and I want the community to grow. So it is a lifelong journey, because people will be testing the code in their day-to-day life, because they'll start seeing synchronicity everywhere. And subconsciously, they will see it. So basically, people will do the half-day workshop, but then in the group, they will ask any questions they want. So imagine there's 100 people in the group. One question to me, I answer back via audio to all the group. Different people will get different aha. Then they'll say, wow, I just had that synchronicity thing in this suburb, and this other person was in another state or country, and they've seen the same thing. So it is a lifelong journey. However, they can get the crust of it in that half-day workshop.
Okay, so James wants to know, wait, I'm confused. What numbers do we add up? Do you want to go through that again?
Yeah,
Stanley?
So the first numbers is you're looking at the day and the month. So you add the day and month together, and that gives you...
For our American listeners, you are the opposite. So Australians always go day, month, and Americans go month, day. Does that make a difference, Stanley?
No, very good question.
No,
it doesn't, because we're adding the two together. So it's like A plus B or P plus A, and we narrow it down to a single digit, so it'll always be the same. Good question.
Fantastic. Okay. Hanson wants to know, where do we get this information? I will get you to Stanley's website as soon as I can. Jenny's going, oh, man, this sounds so cool. Yes, Jenny, it is very cool. Renee wants to know, having this information will help us with what? And James wants to know, how much are we talking to take a class? So I'll pop back to Renee's question first, because there's lots of things that this can help you with in your day-to-day life. Isn't that correct, Stanley?
Yes. So basically, people can use the numbers because the code of Earth is based on astrology. So this derivative is simplified. So every day, like for example, today in Australia, we are the 18th of October. So 1 plus 8 is a 9. So if we go just to your example, Toni, and your date of birth, we know your identity is a 5, your first number. So today you are running a 5 day, because 5 plus 9 equals 14, 1 plus 4 is 5. So you know in today that you're running a 5. So 5 is about internet, because the internet is fast. It's about intellectual. It's about fitness. If you wanted to do a checkup or go to a physicist, it's good to do it on a 5 day. So you can maneuver your day according to your numbers, but it's according to each individual with their numbers, with how it relates to the surroundings on Earth. So think of us as the subject that is fixed, and everything else around us is the object that is
movable. Okay. So guys, I'm gonna put up Stanley's website shortly, and on Stanley's website is all the information about all the courses that he runs, and all the information that you'll need to tap into this amazing numerology and ESP code. So I want to talk about the ESP code. What is it and how does it work?
So the ESP code is a combination of both Eastern and Western wisdom, but it's fundamentally based on your 4-numbered sequence code, like for your example, the 512. But it also takes into effect that you're a Taurian and born in 1967 from the Chinese. It takes into the fact that you're a ram, sheep, or goat. And it also takes into effect what we call the Pythagorean numerology in terms of what arrows you may have or arrows you may be missing. So think of noughts and crosses, and you have certain arrows.
Yes.
So quickly, in your example, 28, 4, 2, 8, 4, 1, 9, 6, 7. Okay, so in your example, you have the arrow of activity and you also have the arrow of practicality. So you're practical and you're active.
Yes.
And the active that you've got with the arrow of activity, that also validates that you have 2 5s in your code. So you're a 5-5-1-2. So you're very, very fast. You're very intellectual, but because you've got the arrow of activity, it's like a triple whammy, so to speak.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm guessing that's a good thing.
Yeah, because
I certainly do pack a lot into my day.
Well, we all have both positive and negative attributes of our code. So from the 5-5-1-2, in your case, the 2 is the 5-5s could be you're doing so much you may not finish all the tasks because it fragments the energy maybe. From the 1, from the creativity or the independence is a positive thing. Sometimes from the 1 it could be a stem of loneliness. With the 2, it's the givingness. Sometimes it may be too giving where you give away and dissipate the energy. So think of it as like a sine wave, a biorhythm, where there's positive and negatives of all our numbers. It's up to us to stay positive. But, in Earth, it's not easy to do because we have distractions, we have our environment, whatever. But, of course, this is where I go in my deeper teachings with my astrological stuff, specifically with specific chanting and prayers and mantras in specific times and locations that can help solve people's problems. But that's much more deeper wisdom.
Okay. So it has taken you quite a substantial amount of time to get the wisdom in this area of astrology, hasn't it, Stanley? So you've been studying for a number of years and you continue to study, I understand.
That's correct. Basically, good December 2011 creative found it's about 9 years. So everything goes in 9-year cycles. And I've been on the seeking path of just questioning for 19 years. So I'm now in the position to really start with the first step. Like I have numerology readings, and then my next thing is the numerology workshops. But I want to touch as much as I can the 4 corners of Earth. Hence the online workshops that will go for half a day.
And your online workshops are actually open to anyone, anywhere in the world?
Correct, yes. So
all you have to do, listeners, if you're interested in finding out about the online courses or the workshops, it's Stanley's website is Zenith Culture. That's ZenethCulture.com. And I know from looking on Stanley's site before when I was doing my research, there's a huge amount of wonderful information just on his site alone. And I just wanted to touch on Stanley's mission. And Stanley, do you want to tell our listeners what your mission is? Because it's pretty special.
I have a real good drive and hunger to empower 10 million people. And my initial strategy for this is to have my core 100 people with me to help them learn this and test this day in, day out, for them to spread this wisdom to the 4 corners of Earth. Because I really do think, Toni, this accompanied as a tool can help so many people because it will raise their vibration, their frequency a little bit higher. And I think Earth in general, humanity in general right now, is so much confusion and the 5G technology about to be released, and pollution, and there's so many different topics. There's no more important time than everyone to know thyself. That's the deeper Gnostic wisdom that Jesus really taught, is everyone should know who they are individually. So if Toni knows who she is, and I know, and your listeners, everyone can collaborate and work together much faster, so we can magnify our strengths and we can complement our weaknesses.
Yes. And with much more positivity. When we talk about raising our vibrations, my listeners, we're talking about how you feel and walk through your everyday life. So for me, that meant that I had to step up and start putting myself in front of lots of people, which is an incredibly scary thing to do. But in doing that, people see me, they get to know me, and that helps them to feel more positive about life. So I've lifted my vibration so that I am a positive, happy person, and that's what people see, and that's the vibration that I put out. And Stanley, can you tell our listeners why it's important to lift our vibration? What does that do in your life? Because I don't just want to talk about me. I want to talk about what it can do for our listeners.
Yes, so from a mathematical point of view, when people know their numbers and they start to create much better, again in synchronicity, I have what I call an acronym SSS, which is simplicity, speedy, synchronicity. And by doing that, it then allows what we call CCC, which is clarity, confidence, creativity. Which then allows them to do something to what you're doing, where you stepped up, which is presenter, producer, publisher. So when people know what their identity is, their type of identity, their character and their essence, and they start to live it and start to add value to society, they automatically, just by default, start to raise their frequency vibration and tap into their higher self, and they're more happier. And when you're happy, your cells get happy and you stay healthier and you can create more. So you lift yourself out of that smog, if you will, and and when you vibrate high, that aura can manifest to other people, and they're going to say, "Wow, you've changed. What are you doing? How can I be the same?"
Yes, that's exactly correct. But it does actually take strength and courage to step out into that scary place of walking your life path. And I'm sure, Stanley, you've been in that place before when you decided to go on this path of a spiritual teacher, that it wasn't a no-brainer for you. I'm sure that there were some common human fears that you experienced before you stepped into your life path.
Most definitely, yes. The cycles of life always brings us to, rhythms where there's positive and negatives. And as a spiritual teacher, just like all the ancient ascended masters, and including Jesus himself, he traveled and sought wisdom. A lot of people need to know real truth in history that's been tweaked and for the agendas for other people. But when we seek, you always come across different people that are good in their areas, masters, if you will. So I always seek, and even though I'm a master number 33 and I call myself that as a master teacher, I'm also a master student. So even as I'm talking with you, Toni, I'm learning stuff. I never stop learning. Yes. So that's what keeps us hungry, because, Jesus even said to ascend to the kingdom of God, we must be childlike. A child's always seeking wisdom, because wisdom is the connection, I believe, to God. So
I absolutely agree with you, Stanley. I am so incredibly curious about everything and anything, and I refuse to allow my mind to be closed off by prejudices of any description. So if you come to me and you can logically and intelligently explain that something works like this, this, and this, then I will support that way of thinking. And I believe that people need to be less judgmental and more open to understanding the many, many teachings of all different denominations denominations from across the world. So, Stanley, did you as a child have an interest in numerology and astrology? I'm just wondering.
As a child, when I was born with 3 white hairs on my head, my mother told me. And it's like I had this seeking of just wisdom. And a lot of people don't know reincarnation was in the ancient scriptures, even in the Bible, was taken out. You see in children, but specifically 2-3 years old, their old souls coming through. And a lot of the children now that are coming through are here to teach the adults. There's so old souls coming through.
Absolutely.
So basically, I was just on a self-seeking path that I never just took anything from what people told me. I would always, just something's not right here. But I was always fast in mathematics. So in the year 5, in 1985, I was doing my times tables, and I went against the teacher in a speed competition of times tables because I kept beating the students. So then I went against the teacher and I beat her. So I was fast in numbers. And then later on, 26 later, here I was founding and creating the ESP code, which is the fundamental principle of what Zenith culture is about. Because Zenith culture, Toni, Zenith stands for not just Zen spirituality. Zenith is the celestial point of the stars. And I purposely spelled it with an E numerologically. So what I'm showing people is I want to grow a culture, but it's a positive cult. It's not a cult of brainwashing. It's a cult of unbrainwashing. So it's an agenda, if you will, but a good agenda for people to raise the vibration and understand who they are based on how the celestial planets, the astrology can help people. And to get to the 10 million, I simplified with my code, with numerology, because again, that's a derivative of the beautiful science, the very complex science of astrology.
Yeah. Before we run out of time, Stanley, I know that you've got wonderful and fabulous clients that have worked with you. Could you share with our listeners one example of someone who's worked with you and how it's changed their life? Have you got an example of that? And I'm sorry, that's a question that I didn't put forward to you, but it's come to me and I'd really like to know so that we can demonstrate for our listeners how having this knowledge can impact on your life.
Yes, I've read from many different people, both one principal teacher of a school that has retired and studied all the religions and all the faiths, and she came to me for reading, and she was amazed. I had another person who owned a shop who would seek different astrological teachings for 20 years, close to 200,000 spent on different teachers, and I showed him the way I did the code, and he was just totally amazed. I've read for trade workers. I've read for esoteric people. I've read for just everyday people. What I've come across is even people have come to me and goes, "Oh, what's your gift?" A lot of people now are starting to tap into what their gift is, because everyone has a gift. We've been born with a gift, and psychic ability has been suppressed, but it's wrong. Everyone should nurture their gift to help them. I'm also a very prominent lady, I can't say, but it's a supermodel's mother that was very taken by my numerology. And a lot of the people in America, specifically even in Hollywood, the elites, they seek the advice of astrologers, numerologists. And I've been speaking to a few people that they're looking to do very big things with what I'm doing. But my passion is to help people and humanity, but at the same time, I want to align myself with what I call benevolent billionaires and millionaires. So when I say benevolent, it's just like you have benevolent planets like, say, Jupiter, Venus, as opposed to malefic. But I want to align, because the mission that I'm doing for 10 million is going to involve both the wealthy elite good people, and also humanitarian good people that are working from heart. So I need the breadth of both those paradigms to get the mission
help you
accomplished.
Achieve your mission. Yes. Stanley, just before we run out of time, you do personal readings still. So if people go onto your website, they can actually sign up to do a personal reading with you?
Yes. So basically on the site, on the header, it's like a 3-step concept. There's numerology readings, numerology workshops, and astrology billionaires. That's where I'm looking to align with the astrology for specific key 12 people. We have secured one. We're looking for another 11. So basically, people can have a reading with me. They just click on. There's 30-minute readings, 45-minute readings, and 60-minute readings. So when they click on Numerology readings, it's got the simple tabs there for people to go. And the online workshops, I'm looking to do them 4 times a year. However, to get things moving, I may, if I can get a group, because they're half day, if I can get, say, 12 people, at the minimum, I'll do them more continuously. If I have to do it every week to get the core key, because I'm looking for those key 100 people that have really got a thirst to learn it, because I don't want them just to learn it from the half day. I want them to practice it in their work, in their life, and everything, and they can collaborate with me and ask any questions they want in instant message on Facebook. So,
fantastic.
Because this is
what a fantastic service.
Thank you. It's a practical applied numerology service. So I'm taking a very deep system. This is not airy-fairy. This is really science, and it's practical, and I want people to learn it just like they learned walking, learned riding a bike. This is just learning another skill.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that website again for our listeners is ZenethCulture.com. And as I said, Stanley is looking to run these online courses, numerology workshops, and the phase 3 of his mission is the Numerology Academy, which will come at a later date. But you can jump onto that website and you can have a personal reading from Stanley with all his wealth of wisdom and understanding, and you can do that as soon as we jump off this show, and as soon as Stanley goes back to his normal job. Just wondering, Willow wants to say that it all sounds very interesting, and Willow, it is incredibly interesting to learn about how the and the stars are involved, as the planets are involved, as the numerology. It's all linked together, and understanding it helps you understand yourself. And once you start to understand yourself, you can step into doing what you were always meant to be. And as you said, Stanley, we all have a purpose. We don't always know what that is at the beginning of our lives, but as soon as you know it, and as soon as you start walking that life purpose, the better your life starts to become. Isn't that true?
Most definitely. And when we always talking and like this, there's so many aha epiphany moments. Things will resonate with people, and then when we elevate and collaborate, everyone can. Because right now we are meant to be shifting to the 5D, not the 3D in terms of the Earth dimension, and that's where people need to tap into their higher self. It's very important right now. So this type of conversation we're having is very good important for people.
Yes. It's about that higher level of conscious understanding versus the what's the word I'm searching for? The static, or the how it's always been. We need to actually be better than we've been as humanity, don't we, Stanley?
Yes,
we need to do better, and we need to know better.
Yes, much, and collective cosmic consciousness right now is unbelievable, where telepathy and psychic abilities of everyone is there. They just got to tune in and not suppress the gift. They've got to nurture the gift.
Yes. All right, my good friend Stanley, I have really enjoyed having you on Radio Toni this morning, and we have to pop to a short break so I can prep for our next guest. What a pleasure, and I'm so appreciative of you taking your time to come on the show. Don't forget, listeners, write down that website. It's in the chat box so that you can see it. We've had Stanley on from Zenith Culture. Pop on and have a look at his website and get in contact with Stanley. I know I will be as soon as I have a spare moment. Thank you, Stanley.
Thank you. Thank you to the listeners. Blessings, everyone.
Thanks, Stanley.
Bye-bye.
Over to you, Rebel. Welcome back, everyone. So we have the delightful Yogita Ridgley with us again, and Yogita's company is called Traveling with Me, Myself, and I, and she's a solo traveler specialist. Good morning, Yogita.
Good morning, Toni. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Thank thank you for coming on the show again this week to talk about what you do. There's a lot of single people out there today, and that's your area of expertise, isn't it?
It sure is, yes, absolutely. Solo traveling is obviously one of my passion and my love. But later, after traveling solo for a little bit, I found out that it also had helped me on my journey to finding my gift, which is amazing to come straight after the chat you had with the gentleman before, which was all about finding your gift. So my story started with, traveling solo to get away from my life, which was chaos that I created for myself. And while people could say, running away from your life, but while I was trying to run away from my life, I found that solo traveling has got quite a lot of benefits that you, when you actually are in the solitary of just your own thoughts and your own being, you tend to start really recognizing what you like, what you don't like, who you are and who you're not, because a lot of times you pretend to be someone when you're around other people to, just to fit in. We all want to fit in. We all want to, be loved and to belong. So it was an eye-opener. You could say that solo traveling found me instead of me finding solo traveling. So it was definitely... in hindsight, the universe was looking after me when I asked for help, and I was like, okay, I'm going to run away and do this. And I had big plans of doing everything, but none of them was going to serve me. So universe obviously told me that, no, by creating enough challenges that, no, that's not where you're supposed to go.
Yes.
and as I've learned through my journey, that you do need to listen to what these challenges are supposed to teach you. Instead, before, I used to constantly complain about how difficult my life was. Yeah. Because I was not listening to any of these lessons. I was not learning them. I was not taking the challenges as something that I can grow from. I was constantly complaining these challenges are, to stop me from achieving my goals and, becoming successful. And so these challenges kept on coming like, mountain heights. And I had to take a deep breath and had a good look. What is it that I'm supposed to be doing?
And so it's true to say, Yogita, that you only discovered that by taking yourself out of the hurly-burly of life and being just by yourself. That's true, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, the most amazing gift you can give yourself is that time and is that space and is that connection with your own self, because I'm a strong believer, and if you have an amazing relationship with yourself, you're going to have great relationship with anything and everything on the outside of you. So unless and until I had that space of being alone, I would have never actually achieved what I am doing now. And, hence the idea of self-discovery and solo travel goes hand in hand. And as we grow, we're always changing. So it's not something that you do once and you're perfectly fine. It's a journey. You're constantly learning and constantly growing, and you're stepping up to the next level of greatness where you have got a lot more to serve, a lot more to give to people. And when you get to that level, again, another challenge will come through and ask you to step up again. So now I actually embrace challenges. I look for them and I wait for them. Before I used to run away. Exactly. Runaway was my middle name before. But
See, I know it's listeners, I I know the Yogita now, and the thought of Yogita running away from anything makes me laugh. So apologies for my laughing, but the Yogita that I know now is not someone who would ever run away from anything. Yogita, Tim wants to know, is it hard for some people to be alone?
Yes, very hard, especially at the start when you do this journey and you're full of fear, but you're embracing it anyway. It is very hard. But what I do with my coaching and my one-to-one sessions is I actually teach them how to leave fear behind, or how to hold it on one hand and keep pushing through with the other hand. Where the fear, like humans will always have fear. But I teach them how to channel that fear into the positive energy that you can use for your advantage. You can use to, create better awareness and better, be more conscious of what can be and what you're going to make of it. But yeah, definitely don't think that because it's uncomfortable that you shouldn't do it. My belief is because it's uncomfortable, you should do it, because it's, it's going to get you to step out of your comfort zone. But yes, he's not alone in thinking that, first of all, it is something that humans are not wired to do. I should say that society is not letting us do it, because if you're alone, we're classed as losers, or, or widow, or something's wrong with us.
Yes.
But in hindsight, all humans are born to be in their own space, so we can enlighten ourselves, we can enrich our thoughts, and we can enrich who we are and have better connection with us. But with the society, the bigger your friend group, the more cool you are. The bigger your circle, the more popular you are. And that's just to please the ego. That's just to please the fear of being alone, and all that comes from a very negative place. So, once you let go of all that, you definitely will find that it is the most a beautiful gift you can give yourself, is having space and time to yourself alone.
And some of the positives that come out of spending time just by yourself, what have they been for you, Yogita?
Oh, how long have you got?
We've got plenty of time at the moment.
We've got my very, very first thing that I've learned from being alone is that now I know who I really am, like who I was born to be. Like the minute I was born, all the gifts that I had, all the strengths that I had, all the weaknesses that I had, I now know who that person is. Like the minute you kind of go through the journey of being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, your parents tell you who you are, and then your school tells you who you are, like your teachers and students tell you who you are. So all this cloud of everybody else's voice is overpowering the information that you already have who you are. So by the time you get to, for me, I got to 18, 19 years of age, I was totally confused. I had this inner belief I was born to do something big and special.
Yes.
But on the outside, I was like, oh my God, I don't think I belong in this world. This is they're expecting me to know this and know that, and I don't know nothing, because the world or the school told me I know nothing, because they told me I'm stupid. And because I couldn't spell to save myself, I was put in the stupid basket. And I actually made home in that stupid basket. I became really comfortable in that stupid basket because I believed it. So once I took that first step of my journey and set on my own, I realized I was capable of so much more. And I could speak different languages, just pick it up by listening to people. I didn't study it or read it or, learn it. And I was like, I'm not that stupid after all. Do you know what I mean? And then the worst thing you could do is ask the dyslexic person to write. I decided I'm going to write a blog. Like, talk about challenges.
How scary was that for you, Yogita? That must have been
absolutely scary. Yes, it was absolutely scary. It was like, I put my toe out and the whole body is still like inside the door, and I'm trying to squeeze the door, and how powerful is your toe? It isn't, but you just are determined. I was so determined that I'm going to do this if this was the last thing I did. But I'm so glad I did. It was almost like being stubborn that I wanted it so bad, despite all my weaknesses, despite all the obstacles, and despite all the things people told me that I couldn't do. I just wanted to not prove it to the world, just prove it to myself that I can do this. And, the first blog I wrote... Sorry, go on.
Sometimes it's just about proving it to yourself. Like, it doesn't matter what the world thinks, but if you prove something to yourself, that makes a huge difference in your mind, doesn't it?
It does. Actually, to be totally honest, it's all about proving it to yourself. It's never about proving it to anybody else. Yes. What happens is, once you believe you can, everything else just falls into your lap. So if you can prove it to yourself, it comes from a place of certainty, not so much confidence, because confidence is like a wave, it comes and goes. But you are so certain you are able to do this because you've proved it to yourself. Whereas people, a lot of times they get confident and they get all powered and hyped and they start doing things, and then the fear comes in, and then they go back and forth like a yo-yo, and that's where you haven't actually proved it to yourself. And that's I think it's very powerful. If you can prove it to yourself, you can do this. You don't have to prove it to anybody else. Everybody will see it in you. It's like action speaks louder than words. You will just be like that bright light shining everywhere. People want to know more because you've proved it to yourself, and you believe you have it. You believe you can do this. You believe you are living the power that you were given to live on this planet. So that's where that aha moment for me came on my solo trip, sitting on, to be totally honest, sitting on the most chaotic, busy place you can think of, London Square.
Oh, okay.
I sat there thinking, oh my God, this is so busy. And then all of a sudden I started just really paying attention to my thoughts. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? All these questions that you ask yourself that you never get to ask when you're home or when you're in your chaotic environment. We call it life. It shouldn't be life. It is something that we created for ourselves, telling ourselves that it is safe zone. It's going to protect us, but it doesn't serve us. So the biggest thing for me was that moment where a lot of people think that if you go to a really quiet, peaceful environment and sit there, you will get aha moments. You don't have to do that. You can sit in the most busiest space, but as long as you're in tune with your thoughts, you are going to get aha moments. Even though, when you go to quiet places and more tranquility and the energy is better and it does help you. But you don't have to, like a lot of people say to me, Yogita, I don't have the money to, fly to India and sit in the Himalayas, or I don't have the money to fly to Switzerland and sit on the lakeside, and so I just say to them, what, don't let money stop you from finding your gift. I can teach you other ways of doing that. And, you don't even sometimes, like I know a lot of women have got responsibilities, children, husbands and bills to pay. So what I'm teaching is not about spending money and traveling the world. It's literally just traveling to whatever you can afford that doesn't push you out to a place where you're extremely stressed out, and that defeats the purpose of what you're trying to do. So I love it when people say, oh, Yogita, I don't have the money, because then I get to really serve Like I can really get creative. How can we do this? And how can we make this happen for this person? And the second she lets go or he lets go of all the excuses and all the fear, in less than 3-6 months, I've seen people transform. And then money is never a problem because they're not now scared of making money, or they're not now scared of putting themselves out there. They're not afraid to be vulnerable because, you know, they don't care if they get attacked, because every attack is a challenge that you're going to grow from. So I love it when, you know, people say, what do you learn from traveling? Everything you learn in the classroom, you should swipe it off and go traveling. I believe you will be a better human to humanity. You'll be a better person to yourself and everyone else around you. As soon as you get in touch with who you are, you stop competing, you stop being playing ego, power trips and everything else that we humans do, because we are taught at school to be A+ student. You know, and then when you're A+ student, you'll get a good job. So it's like you keep on feeding these children all these different you know, greedy things, like you do this, you get this, and then you do that, you get that, and then you get to the job where you paid like really good money, and by then you've literally sold your soul to have that money, and there's nothing alive left inside you to enjoy that money. So you know, so where are we going wrong with this school system? Where are we going wrong with our thought process that success means money? And you know, of course, money is a very important part of our livelihood, and it is a very, very positive energy. It helps us serve more people, helps us serve people we love. So it's not something that we should say, oh, I don't want money, I don't need money, because a lot of people have that conflicting information as well. When I travel, a lot of people say, oh, it's okay for you because you've got so much money, you can travel luxury. It's like, I've never traveled luxury. I've never traveled first class or business class or anything. I just refuse to. I think the best part of traveling is the journey, not the destination. And that's really the principle of life. It's the best part of life is the journey, not the destination. Because put it this way, the destination for our life is death. So if you haven't enjoyed the journey, what are you going to do with the destination? That's right. Yeah, so
Yogita,
that's what...
I'm just... I'm sorry to interrupt you, darling, but we are out of time. But I'm going to keep you on for a little bit longer if you like, because our next guest hasn't come online, and I've got some questions here, and I want to talk about your retreat. So Renee wants to know. Renee wants to know, how did you figure all this out? Zara wants to know, it does not seem as easy to do. How long did it take you? And Missy wants to know, how can we change the way things are and learn to enjoy life when we still have a life to live? So 3 great questions.
Absolutely.
Where do you want to start?
Very, very good questions. Thank you, ladies, for asking these beautiful questions. I want to start with answering how long did it take me. Actually, I've been on this journey for 10 years. 10 years ago, I literally hit rock bottom where I was depressed, and the only options I had, or only options I gave myself, was this: either run away on a trip somewhere or kill myself. So there was 2 options I had. And because I had a young family, I thought I'll run away and test it out. I was going to go. Again, fear was still like stopping me from even killing myself, you know. I mean, I can laugh about it now, but I wasn't laughing about it back then. But definitely it's a long journey. But as soon as you take the first step, you start feeling better. You start getting that belief in yourself. And I did do a yo-yo process for a very long time, till I actually went like, I am taking only forward steps from now on. And I am writing a book about this. So all my steps and all my highs and lows are in that book. If she wants to grab that when it is out, that will be amazing. The second question was... Just
for our listeners, I've put up Yogita's next retreat, which we'll talk about in a minute. Just that will get you to Yogita's site as well. Sorry, Yogita, to interrupt.
That's okay.
Tim's just saying they were not great options, were they?
No, definitely not good options. You'd never want to be in that space. Like, you never want to get that bad. Like, on the outside, people saw me with so much money, so much fame. I had a corporate job. I owned a business.
Yes.
And, so it like they said, don't judge the book by its cover. And that was literally my story. Don't judge the book by its cover. So the one of the other ladies, what was her question again? Sorry, she said...
Zara wanted to know, it does not seem as easy to do. How long did it take you? Renee wanted to know, how did you figure all of this out? And Missy wanted to know, how can we change the way things are and learn to enjoy life when we still have to live that life?
Yeah, good question. So, Zara, the way I figured this out was, the first one was like literally sit on my own for a very long time. There's a scientifically proven thing behind this as well. If you sit long enough on your own, all your thought processes and your emotions, they surf up to your like, you're not suppressing them because you're not constantly busy. So when you're sitting down alone, that means without computers, without any kind of distraction, no music, no one to talk to, like you're in silence. The only thing you're talking to is yourself, like your thought process. And I did that for 2 days, and I just cried with so much emotion that was just shoved right inside from very, very long time ago, that just started surfacing because I never actually really tapped into that before. Like, I never believed in, doing any therapy or anything like that. It's like therapy is for people who are, not jobs, not me, sort of thing.
Yes.
So it does, it is a process where you keep on learning as you're doing these different things. And this is something I teach at my retreat. And the retreat is all about getting to know who you are. So the retreat's called Mastering the Art of Self-Discovery. And the self-discovery goes back to where you're born to now. So each person has a different journey. So it's very customized to help you connect with yourself. Yeah. And I find that, everything I teach there is what I've done for myself and learned from my experiences. So when I teach it, it's very easy for people to see that I've been there. I share stories, how I came through from one obstacle to another one, to another challenge, to another problem. So people, get to go back into their own space and find time and watch their thought process to figure out what's going on with themselves. And if you are looking at, doing something like that, just give yourself 15 minutes to start with. Just put a timer on 15 minutes and sit in a quiet space. Just watch what you're thinking. Don't try to meditate because it's very hard when you don't really know the right techniques. Yeah. So just watch your thought process. What is it that you're thinking? And then when a thought comes up, ask yourself, why are you thinking this? And that will just trigger other feelings and other emotions that will come through. And see how if that works and you want more information, feel free to contact me. All the details are on my website. Yeah.
Yes. Yogita's very open to having a discussion with you. And, of course, she runs these amazing retreats where she teaches you how to tap into that, and I'm going to say quiet inner voice, because often it is a quiet inner voice and you need stillness in your life to start listening to that voice and to start questioning, why am I thinking that way? And sometimes it's such a powerful experience to question why you think a certain way. And it's in the still quietness that you'll be able to do that and go, well, that's not quite right, is it? And that's a good thing to do, Yogita.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing to question why you think the certain way, because sometimes our thought processes are governed by the life we lead, or the way we've been brought up, or how we're conditioned to think. And we do it out of habit rather than out of some that meets the needs that we need to meet within ourselves. And you teach all of that, Yogita, and your retreats are an opportunity to get away and sit and learn some of those skills that bring you into understanding more about yourself.
That's
and your
correct.
focus, of course, is the discovery of that self-love and self-compassion. And do you want to quickly explain why those concepts are important for us as humans?
Absolutely. So self-love is the most critical thing for any human, because it really starts with yourself. And believe it or not, it doesn't matter how gorgeous a woman is. If you stop her and ask her, she will tell you 10 things at least that she doesn't like about herself or about her life. So this is where, we humans are too critical about what we are, who we are, what we look like, because we have this image from society, from media, what we should look like. And so we spend so much energy and time wanting to look like something instead of just embracing that energy and time, being yourself. My biggest twist on this is that I actually really channel into where people need to really learn how to do self-worth and self-respect. Those two things are extremely important part of self-love. So if you know your self-worth, you're not going to let anybody treat you or break your values that you live by. So I help people channel their values. What are your values? What's your self-worth? And self-respect. A lot of people have this problem. They have no self-respect. They demand respect, but they don't really know what they want. They start a fight saying that, don't treat me like this. But what this means, what do you mean by don't treat me like this? So I teach them how to actually really communicate what the boundaries are, how people can treat you and how people can't treat you. And that is a reflection of how you treat yourself. So if you treat yourself not well, people are going to treat you not well. And the biggest thing I said to people, and this is very important, you can do this at home, is like the person you are when no one is watching, that's who you really are. And the way you treat yourself when no one's watching, that's who you really are. So if you don't like what you see when you're observing this, then you need to change. If you do like what you see when you're observing this, then perfect. I'm really happy that you are in a space where you love who you are and you are being true to yourself. For me, it took a long time to really love who I was, because every time I looked in the mirror, I looked at that person where people were saying to you that you are not good enough. You are not good enough. And it was tattooed on my forehead. And I attracted people who treated me like that because I treated me like that. So that's what I teach at the retreat, and that's what I teach with my coaching, and that's what I teach with my my whole business model is all about how to actually really get to know yourself. So self-discovery, enhancing your self-love, enhancing your self-value, enhancing your self-worth, self-respect. And once you've got that relationship with yourself and you know exactly who you are, how you treat yourself is the way you want to be treated, then everyone outside your circle, your friends, your parents, your children, your husband, your wife, they're all going to treat you exactly the same way because you treat yourself. So it's like a mirror reflection. It's like what you attract better because you are better. So I have lived this, so I really believe it now. Before I used to say, oh, stop it, that's just stupid. It's like people treat me horrible because they're horrible. I'm a nice person, but when I really did the inner work, I found out I was treating myself horrible. People were much nicer to me than I was to myself. So that was the biggest difference.
Yeah. And it's the way that we speak to ourselves when you get up and look in the mirror and go, oh my God, I look shocking today, rather than words to the effect of, wow, I'm pretty good. I'm going good today. And that takes, for women in particular, we tend to struggle. I know men do too, but for women, particularly after having children and looking in the mirror, we seem to lose sight of the wonderfulness of a body that can birth children. And as a result of birthing children, there's stretch marks and saggy boobs and all the rest of it. But instead of looking and going, oh, those horrible saggy boobs, going, wow, that body birthed another new human being. Isn't that amazing? It's about those inner conversations that show respect and love for ourselves, that make the difference in how your life goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like that inner self-talk is the making or breaking of who you are. And the more you learn how to do effective and productive inner self-talk, the better you get at asking questions on the outside as well, like responding better to people and responding better to negative comments on the outside, because you have got a better dialogue in your head. So your worth is not defined by somebody else. Like if somebody looks at me now, like I'm not very big on makeup. I don't believe in, like, I do like to dress up, don't take me wrong, but I don't do it every day. I can be like without makeup for months and weeks and, hair up and draggy shirt on and T-shirt on. And I would be like in the shops. This is not just me inside the house. I would be doing that out in the shops. And if somebody looked at me and gave me that look that, oh my God, look at you, I just smile. The bigger my smile is, the most their face changes and they start smiling. Because it's like that look is not changing who I am, because who I am is not what you see. Is who I am is who I am. I know who I am now. So your opinion is not going to change it. Your look is not going to change it. People sometimes say to me, are you really going out wearing that? It's like, yep, I am. And I'm not changing it because you said so. It's so that's where you just own it. You just own it. You know who you are, and it doesn't devalue you because what you're wearing or how much weight you're carrying. You don't identify yourself with your waistline or your skin color or your height or your wrinkles on your face or any of those things. That's not your identity, and that's what I teach at the retreat. Your identity has to be who you are, not what the society says or what physical eyes can see. So it's quite a lot of deep work, but once you start, it's so amazing
and rewarding.
It's very rewarding. Absolutely.
Oh, Yogita, thank you for staying on Radio Toni a little bit extra time while we got Tracy online. Listeners, Yogita's retreat is coming up at the end of October, and her website is travellingwithmemyselfandi.com, and I've put the link to Yogita's retreat in the chat box as well. And so thank you so much, Yogita, for coming on Radio Toni today. I'm now going to introduce you to the awesome Tracy Tully.
Hello, Tracy. Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm glad I was starting to worry that I wasn't going to get you, and then you've popped online, and I'm so grateful. So, listeners, Tracy has a long history in the educational system, and she had a really traumatic time in Australia's educational system, and now she's completely out of that, and she helps lots of people to unlock their voice. So Tracy, can we start today by just quickly telling our listeners about the things that happened to you in Australia's educational system?
Yes, Toni, thank you, and welcome everyone. I spent 38 years in the Queensland Education Department, and during that time I was 2 times whistleblower, and the second time, which commenced in 2010, was as a result of the failure of the head leader of the department closing our schools during a critical flood situation. So the refusal 3 times to allow me to close both schools whilst the flood water was knee height and with the power still on. As I reported that, and as a consequence of that, my career was ruined because it opened a can of worms, unbeknown to me. But that's what happens when you're a whistleblower. And as a response to that, they literally came for my throat.
Yeah, which was not good. However, it did lead you on to what you do now, which is helping lots of people. So can you quickly tell our listeners the sorts of things you do and about your wonderful workshops?
Yes, thanks, Toni. So one of the big things I did virtually every day in my job as a principal was to help people with their motivation, their resilience and their fear. I was constantly counselling every single day, parents, staff and students. And what I realised was that people were not resilient and weren't having that training either at home or those experience out there in the real world, nor was our worksite training for that, nor preparing for the new millennials coming in. So I'm what we call a critical dialogue disruptor. So I'm the sort of person that will have the hard conversation.
That's amazing. Can you say that again? That's awesome. Say that again, Tracy. That's fabulous.
Yes, I'm a critical dialogue disruptor. So I help people, get out from behind the door, get out of their own way, basically. So what I do with that is I'm a change influencer. So I'm a mentor, public speaker, and I'm an author in mastering motivation, resilience, and building confidence in speaking. So confidence at the base level of having a conversation, right through to public speaking in front of anywhere from 1 to 3,000 people. And that's what I do. So basically I believe that the only competition you have is yourself.
Yes, definitely yourself.
So I refer to it as your PB or your personal best, which holds the key to improving individual performance by developing motivation and strengthening our resilience and gaining our confidence, which gives us then the ability to plan more effectively and efficiently. So I have a bit of a mantra, and my mantra is life is like a box of chocolates, and each sweet delicacy, life is like a box of chocolates, and each sweet delicacy can be likened to a goal that once experienced empowers you to keep moving forward. And in every box there will be 1 or 2 chocolates that you don't like. And I show you how to find the sweet spot in everything you think of and do. So most of the battle is in achieving the right mindset.
Definitely. Erin has just got a question. Can you say that again, please? That was a little bit too fast. I'm not sure if that was in relation to the box of chocolate bits. Erin, and if you could just clarify that for us, and we'll get Tracy to repeat it again. I suspect it might have been in relation to how you help people know the things that you do. So she wants to know, Erin wants to know, Tracy, the things that you do.
Okay, so some of the things I do is to teach people to have conversations for success. And that's my upcoming workshop is in Brisbane in a fortnight. So people don't understand that their core needs need to be met before they can actually have a meaningful conversation with other people. And many people find it really difficult, almost frightening, to speak to strangers or speak to others, walk in a room full of people, not know anyone, and talk. So the art of conversation has long been lost.
Yes.
So I help teach people with that. So I teach them right from the very beginning how to prepare themselves for a conversation, and that goes right around breathing, asking the right questions, and listening very carefully to what people have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. So your upcoming workshop is a full day or a half day workshop, Tracy?
Yeah, it's a half day now, Toni, because I've listened to a lot of feedback from people on social media and face-to-face, and they're wanting a half day specifically on confidence with conversations. Mine was a little bit more broad. I was advertising a full day around public speaking, but it appears that people are desperate to have information about how to have confidence.
Yeah. Do you think that we've come to this point because social media is such a huge influence in all our lives now, or do you think that it's been decades that we've lost the art of conversation?
Oh, it's a really good question, Toni. I think in two ways. Number one is the click, like, tag community of social media has killed the art of conversation. But then if you go back also in history to, say, the baby boomer, a boom era, so the likes of myself, born in the 60s, where children were seen and not heard. So we weren't. Yes, we even way back then, we weren't encouraged to have critical dialogue or a conversation where we had to have an opinion and a formed opinion, which we needed to go out and research and find information about. So I don't believe it is just the issue of social media. I also believe it stems right back to the previous generations.
Yes, yeah. But it's really important to be confident to have conversations in the work environment, in your everyday life, because if you can't confidently walk into a room where you don't know anyone, that's going to put you at a distinct disadvantage in life, wouldn't you say, Tracy?
Confidence to talk to people stems from your lack of confidence in yourself. And that's the very first place we concentrate on. So building up people's confidence in themselves, and that's attacking their limiting self-beliefs. And you'd be very familiar with that, Toni. Yes. So if we're not confident with that way, the way we sound, our knowledge, or if we believe we're not good enough, all those attitudes play into the fact that we feel we can't talk. I always tell everyone, everyone can sing and everyone can speak, but unfortunately I think our school systems actually aren't promoting that as well as they could be, and that's half the problem.
Yeah. So, Tracy,
so yes.
Yeah, I was worried you might have popped off the Skype then. So your next workshop is coming up in Brisbane in a couple of weeks' time, and for our listeners, I've put up all of Tracy's details in the chat box. But for those who aren't on the chat box, if you go on to tracytully.com, is it .au? No, it's just tracytully.com. So that's TracyTully.com. There's all the information on her upcoming workshop, and I can tell you that Tracy is a dynamic presenter, and you will, if you're able to attend her half-day workshop, you will learn an enormous amount. And the other thing I'd like to point out is that Tracy is open to talking to you one-on-one as well if you need help and assistance in having those conversations. And Amy wants to know, what could we do to change the way of teaching? So I guess that's in reference to how we teach kids these days. Good question for you, Tracy, as an ex-educator.
Yes, it's an excellent question, and thank you for asking, because our system is quite archaic and it needs to be rebooted. We need to look at the generation of students we have now. All our curriculum is really built around 20, 30 years ago. We've got the STEM subjects, etc., but that's just scraping the surface. If we want to boost our children's confidence, because they're being hammered with the social media and the bullying has increased, if we want to boost their confidence, we have to teach them how to be resilient. And if this isn't happening in the homes or out in the communities, then it must happen inside the schools. So the answer to that question would be to build up students' motivation, their self-worth, their confidence in speaking. A lot of assignments, they have to stand up and speak, but they aren't actually taught the art of speaking. They're told to do A, B, C, and D in the assessment piece, go forth and do it. And it's no wonder 3/4 of our students suffer greatly in that area and don't boost their marks in that area. So we really do have to look at, this is the world where we have to change, and we're not changing fast enough for the learning for our students.
Fantastic. Tracy, just one more time for our listeners, that next workshop is coming up fast. It's in just 2 weeks, and if you pop onto Tracy's website, you'll be able to see the details of how you can attend that. Tracy's website also has ways in which you can contact and talk to her. She is an amazing presenter, comes from a wealth of information, and can readily answer all your questions. Tracy, we're just about out of time, but before we go, what are some of your plans for 2020?
I'm glad you asked me that, Toni, because as you know, I have a trip planned for Orlando in Florida, and I hope to do a few other stop-off visits in America to meet lots of wonderful people over there, show my book, and do public speaking and talk about the art of the conversation and public speaking. I'm also going to Italy, and looks like I've just secured Cairo as well next year.
That's so exciting, Tracy. So your book is not out just yet?
My book is called Fearless, Buckle Up and Build Resilience. And no, it's just in its final stages of publishing now. Obviously, because it is a non-fiction book about what happened to me, it did have to go for a little visit to the solicitors to triple check that no one was going to sue me when I outed everything, which had to be done. So, yes, my book will be out hopefully by the end of the year.
Fantastic. Tracy, thank you for joining us this morning on Radio Toni. I know we will have lots of future conversations, and I actually look forward to trying to catch up with you whilst you're in America, because that would be actually fun. Mind you, I would love to be joining you in your tour of America, but we'll see how we go with that. So, listeners, that's Tracy's little segment for today. You will hear from Tracy again, no doubt. She's one of my radio sponsors at the moment. And now we have the wonderful Kerry, Hort, Rowe online, so we can continue our conversation about brain thinking. Good morning, Kerry. Well, maybe we don't have Kerry online. Perhaps we might need to throw to a little break. Are you there, Kerry? We might have to throw to a break just quickly, Rebel, if we could pop on that song while we try and get Kerry on. Oh, no, here she is. Can you hear me now, Kerry? Can you hear me, Kerry? Obviously, Kerry can hear me, but we are having trouble hearing Kerry, or rather I'm having trouble hearing Kerry. So we might pop on to a quick song. Okay, so we can, Kerry can hear us, but we can't hear Kerry. So I'm going to pop onto a quick song, listeners. Just bear with me while we get Kerry live online. Over to you, Rebel. Welcome back, everyone. We're still having some technical issues with getting Kerry online. She can hear us, but we can't hear her. So I'll just try once more. Are you there, Kerry? Nope, we can't hear her. That's fine. What I'll do is I will talk to you a little bit more about what Kerry sent me during the week, and I'm going to read what Kerry types, and we'll try and get through the next little while doing that. So as you know, last week we talked to Kerry Rowe about who is the brain behind Brainthinking. And she talked to us about this amazing tool called the HBDI tool, which is a tool that you fill in, and it tells you what your profile is and the way that your brain thinks. So I was wondering if I can tell you a bit more about the process that I did, and it was quite simple. So Kerry sent me a link to fill out an online questionnaire, which was really quite simple to do, and I followed her instructions, which were to put in the answer that first came to you. And so I did that, and the information was compiled and sent away, and I got a lovely package in the mail this week with my results. And Kerry won't let me open the results live on air. We need to go through them first, and then we're going to unpack what it means for me at a later date. So when I was filling out the questionnaire, it was really quite easy and simple. So it asked you questions along the lines of, did I think I was more creative or more mathematical? Did I feel that I was an interpersonal person? And the other thing is that the questionnaire, if you're not sure about the words that they give you to choose from, it has like a little dictionary. So you just pop onto the dictionary, read what the description is, and then make a choice on the word that most describes you. And so the questions go through and ask you a number of things and give you options for what you think best describes you or how you think. And the culmination of answering all these questions gives you the way that your brain thinks. And the thing about knowing how your brain thinks is that it will enable you to use it in your everyday life. It will help you communicate better, and it will help you understand how other people think and how you will react to the way that they do things. So now that I've finished the questionnaire, what will happen is that Kerry and I have an appointment on Monday, and she will Zoom me and we will discuss those results between her and me. And then when I come back in 2 weeks' time, because listeners, I've got to pop over to Europe for a little conference with my husband, and after we come back, I'm going to book Kerry into the show again, and we're going to talk in detail about my results and what my results mean, so that we can explain to you how powerful this tool can be for everyone to use. So I was expecting the questionnaire to be a little bit more complex, but it was really quite good. And as I said, when I got stuck on a word, so some of the words are not words that I would normally use in my everyday life and vocabulary, so I had to think about them a bit. And when I got stuck, the little tool allows you to pop onto the dictionary and look up, okay, so that word means that, and that's what the questionnaire is looking for. They want to know if I'm this or if I'm that. So again, following Kerry's instructions, I did what felt best for me and the first thing that popped into my brain. So I hope that was the correct way to do it, because Kerry also said to me that it should be rather intuitive, meaning it should come, your naturally first thought should be the the answer to that particular question. It was a comfortable thing to do, and it didn't take me very long to do. So I think it was perhaps under half an hour for me to complete the whole questionnaire. Kerry's just saying that she has my profile in front of her, and I haven't seen my profile yet, so I have no idea. But Kerry's already said to me that my profile is very interesting. So that's going to be fun for you guys to listen to when we unpack that live on air in a couple of weeks. What I'm hoping to know and what I'm hoping to get out of it is to better understand. I'm hoping that it will help me better understand how I communicate with people and how the way I communicate is different from everyone else. Kerry's also saying that she's very happy that I'm so good at not opening my results. Well, I can tell you people that I'm really, really finding it difficult not to rip that security tag off, open it up and read about my results. But I'm not going to do that because I've made a promise to you all on air, and I've also made a promise to Kerry that I won't do it until Monday. So it will be like a big Christmas present when I open it up and we talk about it on Monday. And then when I get to tell you, my listeners, what my communication and the way that my brain thinks, and you'll be able to tell me whether you think that the tool is correct, because you've all gotten to know me a little bit by now, and you'll be able to know how I speak to you on radio and how I communicate to you each week, and you'll be able to say, well, yeah, that's right, or oh, I don't know if I know that that's right. So there are 4 different types of self that this tool covers, and they're the rational self, the experimental self, the feeling self, and the safekeeping self. And all of those different selves have different ways of thinking, and that's the information that we will be able to give you when we unpack this in a couple of weeks. And so the ways that we think are predominantly broken into these 4 clusters, and each of the 4 clusters has different ways of thinking, different ways that we like to communicate, and different ways that our brain functions. So I'm assuming that my results will show whether I'm A, B, C, or D, or a combination of all of those types of thinking. And again, I don't know yet because I'm not allowed to open it up. And this way of thinking can not only be applied to our the way we think, but if you are in business, it will also help you develop your business. So in a business sense, it will determine whether I think strategically, whether I'm people focused, whether I'm process focused, or whether I'm results driven. So if you're a listener and you're in business, this tool can help your business in all of those levels. And so Kerry's saying it helps to know whether you're a problem-solving person, an action-taking person, whether you struggle to get people on board, and whether you're effective in staff meetings and staff training. So from a business perspective, that's amazing. And also, if you take that into your personal life and into your working life, and you're at, say, a corporate level, or even at any level really, if you have employees or you work with other employees, then it will help you understand how you communicate with them and make you better at your job and hopefully help your fellow employees or staff members. So, Kerry's saying why employees don't do and how to okay, so in business, this particular tool will help you be more productive. And if you're the boss, and if you're an employee, it will help you be more productive in your role at work, which is a really great thing, I think. Again, from a personal perspective, your ability to resolve conflict, for instance, is helped or hindered by the way your brain thinks. So if you're in a conflict situation and your brain is a particular type, it's going to react in a particular way. If you know ahead of time that that's the way your brain will react and think, that will help you get your message across. And if other people understand the same thing, it'll help them understand why you react and think the way that you do. It'll also help you to speak to people in a way that not only you're comfortable, but the way that they are comfortable as well. I really am hoping that the tool will particularly help me with my communication. I'm hopeful that it will help me with my problem solving, and I'm also hoping that it will help me understand how to run effective meetings, because not only do I talk on Radio Toni each week, in next year I'm hoping to run some workshops and do some retreats as well, and I'm also hoping to mentor more people and help them have their own radio shows. And so I want to be able to teach them what it means to have your own radio show, how you make that work for you, and how you can communicate with a worldwide audience. And so Kerry's tool, I'm sure, will help me in all of those areas. And I must say, I'm terribly sorry that we can't get Tracy on the line. After we've finished on Radio Toni, we'll go through and see if we can sort that out with Kerry, so that when I come back from Europe in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be able to run through the results of that plan. Violet, yes, I've got lots of big plans for 2020, and I'll be excited to tell you about them. So just so you know, next 2 weeks, in Tuesday, in fact, my husband and I are jumping on a plane and jetting off to Germany, where my husband actually has a business conference. And I'm hoping I will be broadcasting live from Germany. The day that I broadcast to you is my normal time, but it will be 1 a.m. for me. I've got some great guests coming on whilst I'm away. One of those shows will be a pre-record with the amazing Donna Lee Perfect, and the other show will be a wonderful doctor who specialises in the subject of love. My other guest, also excited to be on there, will be talking about her interactions with love and how that transforms in her life. And so I'm hoping to have just a tiny little break whilst we're in Europe for 2 weeks. Everything will run on as normal. And if you'd like to follow me on any of my social media platforms, I'm going to be putting up lots of pictures and some lives and some little videos of things that I find interesting on my trip in Germany. So we're going to Germany first, followed by France, dropping down into Switzerland, and then going up to Austria. And I will be doing lives on my social media platforms. So for any of the listeners, I'm on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and I will pop those links if you pop onto my website. So my website is tonilontis.com. If you pop onto my website, that's the easiest way that you can find all my social media platforms. So I am on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Radio Toni has its own special Facebook page, and I will do some lives in there, especially for you listeners who are on my Radio Toni Facebook page, just so you can kind of travel with me while I travel in Europe. Now, the times will be a little different, but it still should come up in your feed. Or if you search Radio Toni on Facebook, you'll find me and you'll be able to see the travels whilst I'm in Europe. I'm hoping that when we are in Munich, I'll be able to visit some of the beautiful museums over there. Then we go to Nuremberg, which is, of course, is famous for the Nuremberg Nazi war trials. And I'd really like to do some lives just to let you know some of the atrocities that happened in our previous world wars and some of the crimes that were committed in the name of racism. I'm thinking that you, the listeners, might find that Kerry's just sent me. I think you said 10 o'clock. Hello to fix this. Okay, so we're still unable to get the wonderful Kerry on the line, and I'm sorry to do that, listeners, but rest assured, when I get back from Europe, we will have Kerry live on the show to unpack the results of my HBDI brain thinking questionnaire, and we'll be talking at length about what that means, and you'll be able to see just how your host, Toni Lontis, thinks and communicates, problem solves. And we'll also talk about my weaknesses, because I think it's important. Everyone has weaknesses, and I'm no stranger to weakness. So we will be able to explore those areas as well. It may take more than one show, so it may take us a number of shows. A long wait for the answers. Yes, I'm so sorry, Loie. We will. Kerry didn't want to do it live on air this week just simply because she hadn't spoken to me personally about the results. So that's the only reason why we left it. And she'll talk to me on Monday, and I'll go away for my little break. And when we come back, we'll have all the answers and all the informations about my brain test and how my brain thinks. So, wonderful listeners, we've had a few technical issues today, but that's what you get living in Australia and trying to connect to a live radio show via Skype. We will have it sorted most definitely for Kerry the next time she's live on air, but that's time out for me. Thank you all for joining us today on Radio Toni, and I look forward to talking to you all next week. Over to you, Rebel. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now.